Welcome to the Big Fish Contracting Podcast. Thank you for joining us today, along with Tanya Weltzen. Hello.
Good morning,
Tanya. We have a couple of guests. Tanya, would you like to introduce them?
Yes, we have Kevin. And our customer, Brian.
Customer Brian and Kevin. Kevin is our lead consultant. As you all know, if anybody who's listened or watched the podcast, you've met Kevin before. Our lead consultant in our renovating world and additions, and we did a project for Brian recently. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that project? What did we do?
Brian called us back in June last year, and he had unfinished space and wanted to finish that space up, and it was in his basement.
That's Nora.
And so he was a friend of Paul, who's our window sales consultant, so it was a pretty easy introduction.
Friend? A real friend?
Yeah, he does have friends.
Shocker.
Wow.
We are surprised.
Okay. No wonder. No. Okay, yeah, I didn't
How long
really
have you
know
known
he had
Paul
friends.
for?
Yeah.
I've known Paul for 5 or 6 years now.
Okay.
Our kids, my oldest and his youngest, I guess, are good friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
They play baseball together?
Yep.
They do.
And the basketball and all the...
Yeah, all the things. All the things
So
on the school. And
Paul, when you're watching sports together, what type of parent is Paul on the sideline?
he's a quieter one. He likes to watch it kind of by himself a little bit more.
Okay.
He's not like in the big crowd usually. But he'll chat, but he likes to focus on the game.
He does.
Is
What
he
about
pacing?
He doesn't pace a ton.
No.
you? What about you?
I'm flexible. I can do either or.
I see Paul yelling at the refs every once in a while and chirping. He doesn't chirp?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not a whole lot. Maybe
No, I
his
can
breath
see him
more.
complaining after the game.
Yeah,
about,
when it's all
that's
said
right,
and
because
done.
I've talked to
those
him.
refs were just terrible.
Well, I've talked to him after these games every once in a while because he plays against Cruz, Jason's kid. They're the same age your boys would play.
Okay.
He plays here at Merton. And Paul's always has been
something to
chirping
say.
about
Yeah.
this or that or the other thing. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so anyways, back to the project. So you know
Yeah.
Paul. And we decided to do a basement.
Yeah, he had. I think you said you got 2 kids
Mhm.
and a dog, and you're just kind of running out of real estate in the house to get away from them. So
Yeah.
no, I'm just kidding. You needed some extra space to throw them downstairs.
Yes, exactly.
So they're
That's
away
exactly
from you.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, so you said you had a basement, is unfinished, and we kind of just took it from there. You had a pretty good idea of where you wanted to go, so that was always helpful.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, how long have you guys been in the house, and how long were you thinking of finishing the basement? How many kind of options went through your head?
Yeah. So we've been in the house. We built the house about 5 years ago, knowing that someday we would want to finish the basement. And just like probably you guys see with a lot of your customers, it took a while to pull the trigger, just from both a cost and a time and all.
Well, the building process itself is so enduring, and then you're like,
For sure.
we're in now. Don't want to go through that again.
For sure, but like to your point, Kevin, like we just grew out of the space as our kid, as we have a teenager now, and it's just like he needs more space, we need more space, and so we thought, hey, we have, somewhere between 500 and 1,000 square feet in the basement that we can, be flexible with, but we can open up additional space, and so now is the time to do it. So yeah, we started those discussions in June, but then we had the big floods in August.
Yeah.
And our basement got like 7 inches of water.
Oh,
And so we had already kind of done some of the initial mock-up, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but then we were able to, not only were you guys flexible enough for me to like put it on pause and think, okay, for a second here, we've had water in our basement twice in 5 years. Once it was just a very little bit right after we moved in and we knew it was a sump pump issue. This one was a lot, and it was obviously, we got 10 inches or whatever Menominee Falls. So it was like, okay, well maybe that's understandable, but at the same time, if I'm going to sink significant money into something, what are the risks here? And so we were able to readjust. First off, you gave me the time to think about it, which I appreciated, but then we readjust some of the plans and like came out with something that I think makes a ton of sense. If we ever get water again, we limit some of the exposure to it, and I think, as we'll probably get into, I think some of the additional changes we made, I've gotten a lot of compliments on, and I'm excited about too. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the big things of why Big Fish is really just flexible and like easy to work with, is because we just care a little bit more. Then it's like, no, this is what you signed. We're gonna move forward. You know, I think the second house I built, they didn't allow any change orders.
Mhm.
So once you signed your contract, you were set in stone. You couldn't change anything. And then I couldn't fathom that, because
Yeah.
I've been in this world for so long. It's like, well, why can't you change anything? So it's just like, when a customer says they want to change something, it's usually like, yeah, what do you need? So it's not like anything that.
So I have to ask, did you survive last week with all the rain?
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
did. So
that's a-
I was thinking
yeah.
that too.
So we did have extra sumps put in, and it worked great. So, but yeah, I slept in the basement.
I was saying that
on Tuesday night, I slept in the basement just so I could
Keep your eyes on.
hear if the alarm went off for any water or in the back half. We ended up finishing about half of the basement. And so the half where the sump pump is and stuff is unfinished and stored, which is great because again, if we finished our whole basement, I don't know what we do with all the stuff that we
Well,
have.
sure, you still have
Yeah.
the bins
Yeah.
of things. And,
Well, and that's where
yeah.
people say like, hey, and I just ask them, I'm like, what's your first floor living space? How many square feet do you have?
Yeah.
And then, some people have 2,000, 1,500, 1,000. From there, then you usually take about, most people are only finishing about 50 to 60%.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a really easy way for me to kind of give them a general price. And I think
Yeah.
when we talked in June, I think I was already spitting prices out at you.
You were.
Because
You
it
were.
was very like, you weren't, you didn't have a whole lot of complexity to your project. I think you really thought through, and you're like, kind of keep it simple, and that will maybe hopefully keep the cost down, which I think we were able to help on that too.
Yeah, we came right in at. Honestly, the price didn't change more than small percentage points from when we talked in June all the way until, even with change orders and some of the things that had going on. Obviously, the general scope stayed relatively the same, but the pricing was fair and consistent,
Yeah.
which is great.
And what was the overall scope of the project? I mean, did we have bathroom, egress, bedroom,
Yeah,
living space?
Yep.
What- yeah.
So he had, I think he's like you said, he had about 1,000 square feet of the basement, and we finished, I think it was around 500 square
Almost
feet.
600. I think,
600
yeah.
square
Yeah,
feet.
yep.
So we kind of just split the basement in half, and then he has already roughed in from the builder for a bathroom.
Okay.
So then I asked, do we want to go a full bath? And he's like, no, I don't ever see anyone sleeping down there, so I think we just need a place to relieve ourselves and wash our hands, and we'll be all set. So we went pretty simple with that, with a pedestal sink and a toilet, and that was kind of it. So even this whole selection process, even though you went through all of our process and did them step by step, it was pretty simple, because then you ended up changing the floor. I think originally we were talking maybe LVP,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and I said, well, then when August happened, you're like, hey, we got water, and I'm like, all right, well, he's like, so LVP, that product is waterproof, right? I go, yeah, but the water's still going to get underneath there. I think you're going to want to end up removing that and replacing that anyways. If you do ever get water in the future. So then you started looking into epoxy,
Yeah.
or concrete coating, something
Yeah.
along those lines.
Yeah.
So, but then that was kind of just the pivot where it was like, I have some contacts, but I don't do that a whole lot. So if you find somebody that you trust, we'll work with them. And that was kind of how we ended up just moving into that. So that was kind of it. We have his workout space. It's just more of an open basement, a half bathroom, and then we kind of modified his stair going down. I think you had a door that we removed,
Mm-hmm.
but that was pretty much the extent of it.
Yeah, and I guess just a couple things to add to that. So we had the kind of big, ugly exchange for ventilation and stuff that was running kind of in a awkward
Oh, yeah.
spot, right? And so in order to, we wanted to maximize the ceiling height, but we had that sitting kind of right as you come down the stairs. And we knew that we wanted to have a primary area with big couch, 2 TVs was always my vision, floating entertainment center and stuff. But then we also had this big, ugly box thing that was going to require us to drop the ceiling to some extent. And I think it might have been your idea. I don't remember whose idea it was, honestly. I'll take the credit if you don't want
Sure.
to. But but we ended up boxing that in, and then we turned it 90 degrees towards the wall with a faux box, the same exact dimensions as was holding the exchange, went to the wall and then came down. And so without having to create any additional walls, we were able to separate kind of that entertainment area and then our workout area
space, yeah.
through this kind of exchange that we
Chase.
kept the color different from the ceiling color, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And so that was like, if there was one thing that I didn't envision but worked out way better than I ever could have imagined, it was that kind of trailing fake chase thing that that pops out from the wall and separates the two areas, even though it's really just one big rectangle.
Yeah.
And what are we doing with both TVs? Just watching golf on one channel?
Video games on the other.
Yeah,
Two
okay.
March Madness games.
Yeah. All right.
You know, Brewers game and a movie.
Same page. Yeah.
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 No, I mean it was. I mean,
So I gotta add, do you also then set up your tablet and your phone, and so you got 4 things?
well, you know, if there's enough going on, we can. Yeah.
March Madness, definitely.
Yeah, I brought the TV from our bedroom
Downstairs.
downstairs for that.
I get it, yeah.
No, I mean it's great. It's great.
And so speak a little bit on the process, like maybe your expectations from the beginning to just during the process to now. Like, did we exceed expectations? What were the most surprising as far as the actual build? Like once we
Yeah,
got
I mean it exceeded expectations completely. You know, the kicking it off was a little slow, and that was mainly on me. It was mainly Kevin and the team was incredibly responsive when I first reached out. I think it was literally at like 10 at night that you sent me a thing, and like I went down and just measured a couple quick measurements, and like within 3 days you had, maybe it was even quicker, maybe 2 days you had like, oh yeah, here's kind of what it could look like just on a piece of paper, dimensions drawn, and a real rough pricing. And I was like, all right, cool, we're ready to rock. Then, you know, I kind of dragged my feet a little bit as I was kind of trying to figure out exactly what that would look like. Then we had the flood. I dragged my feet some more. And once we set it in, we got on the schedule, which again, obviously you guys are busy people, so we got on the schedule. It took, I don't know, 2 months or something, 3 months to start the project. But once the project started, it was, this is the thing that is the most impressive and why I will use you guys for any future projects is the communication and kind of the pace with which things moved from that point on was top notch. Like I was getting weekly updates. This is what's going to happen next week. We've got these subcontractors set for X, Y, and Z. Again, I had a separate person doing the flooring, and so like we set time in there. We set it way ahead of time so I could get that person to commit to this week long that they had to do the flooring, and then you guys were back in, and it was knocked out in like 5 weeks or something like that, and
it was pretty quick.
It just felt like almost every day somebody was there doing something, and I appreciate it. I always knew when people were going to be there, and it just got done really quick.
Yeah, that's great.
The nice
Nice
part
work.
about base remodel too is it's not disrupting your everyday life too. It's probably one of the easier remodels to go through just because
Sure.
you still have your livable space.
Sure.
Did the plan change as a result of the flooding, and like had it not flooded, would it be different?
It would be a little bit.
Probably
Yeah.
would have been, yeah. You probably would have done some LVP floors and probably that gym floor.
Yep. Yep.
But I mean, really, it was more of a material change. I would say the only additional changes that they made, and I didn't know because I don't get as involved in the production side of it. But when you had the flooding, then we talked about, hey, let's move the outlets off the floor because typically they're below that 4-foot threshold. Or 3-foot threshold, and you actually move them up so they're a little bit higher. So they don't look out of place, and
No,
they were easier for mounting your TV and your entertainment center in the box that you had for that. So, and then they kind of so they're up. So he does, hopefully he won't. But if you ever have flooding again, now we can just remove. We don't have any electrical that we got to deal with.
Yeah,
we can just
okay.
cut the drywall and throw it back in. So
well, you added a sump pump too.
I did,
Yeah,
yeah.
Croc, yeah.
I did, yeah.
So
Yeah, I think we'll be fine, but it was just like you have. I mean, our whole subdivision got so wrecked by that flood, and it was just, a little bit of PTSD over it, or like just caution. It was just a recency bias. Again, hopefully it never happens. But I had also helped my father-in-law with his basement, and cutting around all the outlets and doing all that stuff was such a pain that I was like, you know what? If we just move the outlets up to 36 inches off the floor, then if worst case we just zip off, a couple feet of drywall, we put up new and
dry it out,
and it looks great. And the team was super flexible in doing it. Nobody has made a mention of anything about the outlets because you can't even tell.
No.
But yeah, it made it easier. It does make it easier for plugging things in. We had those two that are hidden within the entertainment center as well, that are the same height, and so it all worked out really well. But I would agree, there were really no scope changes of anything significant, except for the flooring.
Yeah.
And did you meet our carpentry team?
Oh yeah.
Wayne and
Yes.
and the boys.
Awesome.
Yeah. And which one's your favorite?
I was gonna ask that. I mean, you don't have to say.
I was asking.
I'm
Weird.
terrible with names. I honestly.
Okay.
Yeah. They were literally everybody who worked with both Big Fish employees and your subs. Everybody was great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I always wouldn't ask parents which kid is their favorite, so to ask which carpenter's your favorite seems normal. Parents are always taken back, like, whoa, I can't.
So does that mean technically Wayne is like the firstborn? So of course everyone's gonna love him.
I mean, usually the youngest is typically the favorite.
It's usually golden child.
You think so?
Firstborn.
What do you think?
Definitely the youngest.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
exactly.
youngest for sure.
I always tell my kids when they ask me who's your favorite, I said, which one's asking?
You are.
Yeah, you are. Well, that's it's been fun having you, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk about your experience with us, and certainly apologies that you have to be friends with Paul. But other than that, yeah, it's I know our team had a blast working at your house. You were great homeowners to work for, which is doesn't happen often that you get great experience on a project with great homeowners and great, subs and crews. So it's a good experience all around. And we appreciate you taking the time and trusting in us.
Yeah.
Anything you would have done different?
No, honestly, no. It all came together between the kind of the vision of what we all talked about, what we had drawn up. I used some AI to help me mock up some stuff, and it came, and then use that to kind of show to the team, like from a colors or from a design perspective, like this is what we're talking about, and it ended up looking literally almost like as if that was done before. It looked almost identical. So it was really cool, and I appreciate everything you guys did. And we'll certainly be using it in the future for other projects.
What other projects do you got in the back of your mind?
We want to add a 3 seasons room on the back of our house where we
Okay.
currently just have a stamped concrete patio. It'll probably be another year or two, but it's definitely something that we're really interested in.
Yeah, well, those are fun projects, and
We would love to build that.
yeah, and useful space too. To be able to get that outside air all the time and light. It's great.
Yep.
Well, anything else for our team,
No.
guest? Well, thank you so much for taking
Yeah,
the
we
time and
appreciate
joining
it.
us again. All you listeners out there, feel free to reach out and contact us if you have any remodeling needs. Kevin will be happy to take the time to meet with you and hopefully deliver on your expectations like it did with Brian.
Thanks for listening.
Have a great day.